from Louisiana.
Mr. President, could we have order?
Senate will be in order.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I'm laughing because it was Senator Hogan who was over there probably talking about you and me, Mr. President. And I just couldn't let that go unchallenged. With me today, Mr. President, is one of my able colleagues from my Senate office, Ms. Paloma Chacon. Behind my back, some of my staffers call Paloma Kennedy's brain. They think I don't know that they're saying that, but it's probably true. And I want to thank her for her good judgment, counsel, and advice. What I want to talk about briefly tonight, Mr. President, breaks my heart, but it also makes me mad, but it does break my heart. On Thursday, November 21st, we had another mass shooting in New Orleans, this time in the French Quarter. It happened at the corner of Iberville and Royal Street across from Dickie Brennan's Steakhouse. 3 masked men pulled up in a car and started firing. Bystanders testified that they fired about 40 rounds. 1 person was killed. 3 others were injured. Some people, particularly back home, are probably thinking, Mr. President, okay, what else is new? Another mass shooting in Louisiana and in New Orleans. But this one was preventable. One of the shooters who was arrested, his name is Nicholas Miarana. Mr. Miarana is 28 years old. He has spent most of his adult life in prison. He is based on his record, a career criminal. He served 7 years in prison for armed robbery. He got out. Shortly thereafter, in 2023, Mr. President, Miarana was arrested for a bunch of things: domestic battery, child endangerment, a series of gun charges, including being a felon with a firearm. What happened next is disgusting. In January of 2024, our district attorney offered Mr. Miarana a really sweet deal. Forget about the child endangerment, forget about the domestic battery, forget about all the gun charges. The DA said you can plead guilty. He said this to Mr. Miarana: you can plead guilty to attempted possession of a firearm by a felon. Attempted possession of a firearm by a felon. What? Attempted possession? I don't mean to be metaphysical here or teleological, but you either possess a firearm or you don't. I don't understand attempted possession of a firearm. Maybe it was because had Mr. Miarana been offered a deal, take it or leave it, for possession of a firearm, as opposed to attempted possession of a firearm, which I didn't even know exists, it would have carried a 5-year sentence. Obviously, Mr. Miarana took the deal. And he appeared before Judge Leon Roche in our criminal court in New Orleans. Mr. Roche gave him probation. 8 months later, while he's on probation, Mr. Miorano violated his probation. And his probation officer sought to revoke his probation. Then 1 month later, nobody did anything about revoking his probation. So 1 month later, Miorano was arrested for domestic abuse battery. He went back before Judge Roche. Judge Roche didn't revoke his probation. He just gave him house arrest and told him he had to wear an ankle monitor. That was in September of 2024. Then, a little bit later, Judge Roche decided to lighten even those conditions. He allowed Mr. Miorano to be free every day from 9 to 6. Every day, 9 to 6. Supposedly to go to work. Beginning October the 8th, Mr. Miorano violated the judge's orders every single day. Every single day for 45 days. How do we know this? He had on an ankle monitor. And the monitor company reported to the district attorney and to Judge Roche that Mr. Miorano is violating the terms of his house arrest and ankle monitoring. 45 days. You know what the district attorney did? You know what Judge Roche did? Nothing. Zero. Zilch. Nada. I've already told you how this story ends. Allegedly, I have to say allegedly, he's been arrested for it anyway. Mr. Miorano and 3 of his buddies put on a mask, got in a Honda, killed somebody in the French Quarter, and shot 3 others. Mr. Miorano was caught. You know how he was caught? He had on an ankle monitor. He was caught within hours. This was a system failure, Mr. President. I love New Orleans. I used to live in New Orleans. I earned a living in New Orleans. I met my wife in New Orleans. My son lived the first couple of years of his life in New Orleans. I love New Orleans. What did Tennessee Williams say? America has only 3 cities: New York, San Francisco, and New Orleans. Everything else, Tennessee Williams said, is Cleveland. Now, before my friends in Cleveland get mad at me, I didn't say it. Tennessee Williams said it. But I think what Mr. Williams was trying to convey is what an extraordinary, unique city New Orleans is. Every other state in America would kill to have a New Orleans. 20 million people from all over the world come to visit this city in America, which is perhaps the most European city, the most diverse city in our country. And I love New Orleans. But New Orleans deserves better. I wish this hadn't happened. I wish there weren't people in this world like Mr. Miorano. But there's some people in this world, they just habitually, consistently hurt other people. And they take other people's stuff. I wish they wouldn't, but they do. I don't know why they do. If I make it to heaven, I'm going to ask. But they do. And they've got to be separated from society. And our judges and our district attorneys are not doing anybody anybody in New Orleans a favor by not putting those folks into jail. It breaks my heart. It also makes me mad.